There was a velvet rope across my driveway, a valet stand where my cattle trough used to be, and on my porch, my dam porch. A woman in red heels was auctioning off my ranch like it was some collector's bottle of wine. The woman was Celeste Whitmore, president of the HOA, and she'd called the cops on me before I could even park. If I hadn't come home a day early, I might have lost everything my dad ever built. And I'll tell you right now, that feeling, that split second where your gut tells you something is way off, and you look around and realize they're selling your life out from under you. It sticks with you. Makes you see red before you even know what's happening. I was only supposed to be gone for 5 days, a quick consulting trip in Colorado. I left Ricky, my ranch hand, in charge, and everything was buttoned up tight. Cows fed, fences patched, gates locked. But when I turned off County Road 16 and saw Audis and Teslas lined up like there was a wine tasting going on, my stomach dropped straight to my boots. At first, I thought maybe someone had gotten lost or, God forbid, something had happened to Ricky. But then I saw the signs Legacy Ranch Redevelopment Preview presented by Evergreen HOA. And there at the center, in a blazer so sharp you could use it to gut fish, was Celeste mic in hand. She clocked me pulling in and didn't even blink, just went right back to her pitch, and next up, Lot 7, featuring original timber beams and scenic pond access. Bidding starts at $600 $1,000 lot. 7 was my backyard. I parked hard, stepped out, and made it 20 feet before a kid in a clip-on tie tried to block me. "Sorry, sir. This is a private event." I couldn't help but laugh, not because it was funny, but because if I didn't, I was going to throw him in the fountain. "I live here," I said. "You're standing on my land." Before he could stutter out another word, Celeste turned her voice up a notch. "Security, please escort this man off the property. He's not authorized to be here." I froze, just standing there, authorized. "I'm the damn owner, Celeste." She glided toward me, clipboard like a weapon, talking to me like I was some lost Amazon delivery guy, Clay. "You've been absent more than 30 days. Per HOA bylaw 642, this property is reclassified as dormant, and we're moving forward with redevelopment." I clenched my jaw so tight I thought I might chip a tooth. "I was gone 5, I spat. She just raised her eyebrow, all smug. "We measure absence by activity, not calendar days." And that's when the sirens rolled in 3 sheriff's units with lights spinning like a parade. Celeste pointed me out like a bad dog. "That man is disrupting a sanctioned community event and threatening attendees." One of the deputies, Roland, recognized me. "Mr. Randall, you got papers showing you own this land." I handed him the laminated deed I always keep in my glove box. He checked it, nodded, then turned to Celeste. "Ma'am, unless you've got something that says otherwise, we're going to have to ask you to stand down." The whole crowd seemed to hold its breath. Celeste's jaw could have cracked granite. "This is a civil matter. We'll let the lawyers handle it." She leaned in just close enough for me to hear her hiss, "This isn't over." Then she walked away, heels stabbing my grass. Folks started drifting off champagne flutes, abandoned folding chairs left crooked. Someone even tried to swipe a brochure with my name on it. I didn't stop them. I was already heading for the porch, unlocking the door that hasn't seen another key in 40 years. Inside, I went straight for my dad's old war chest, digging past medals and Polaroids until I found the thick leather folder original deed, all 5 pages with one crucial clause added in 1982. Owner reserves unilateral veto over all third-party claims to land use in event of contested jurisdiction. That word veto was about to become Celeste's worst nightmare. My phone buzzed Ricky. "Boss, you should see what she just sent out to the HOA list. She's calling you a squatter." Fingers tightening around the folder, I realized this wasn't about land anymore. This was war. Next morning, everything felt wrong. The sun was out, the air was clean, but I couldn't shake the image of strangers sipping Chardonnay where my cattle grazed. I walked the fence line, passing discarded brochures and a flyer with a digital rendering of my barn as a wellness center. I crumpled it because whoever dreamed that up had never dug out a tractor axle in the rain. Celeste, though, she understood loopholes, and that's what made her dangerous. So I headed into town, first stop, the county recorder's office. The clerk Kent recognized me guy I'd once helped when his hunting license got lost in a computer crash. "Clay, you finally selling that pasture to the solar company?" I snorted. "Not unless they want the HOA with it." "Kent, I need all recent filings tied to Parcel 48, Section 7, especially Evergreen HOA. He tapped at his keyboard, muttered, "Well, hell. Turns out Celeste filed a redevelopment claim less than 72 hours after I left bundled into a zoning update. Worse, she'd filed an intent to establish redevelopment rights which wasn't binding but could freeze my ability to make repairs or changes. She filed this with no signature from you." "Not one," I said. "And I wasn't even gone a week." Kent just shook his head. "You pissed off the wrong petty dictator." Armed with those files, I drove to Henry Tate's place, my dad's old attorney, sharper at 79 than most men at 40. His office looked like a law library collided with an antique store. I barely sat down before he said, "You've got trouble, Clay. How bad is it?" "Bad enough Celeste could file a zoning claim against your eyelids, but not irreversible." Henry laid it out. In Texas, HOAs only govern properties that opt in or fall under subdivision rules. My ranch never did, but Celeste tried piggybacking on a decades-old map update mentioning adjacent residential corridors. They're arguing adjacency means jurisdiction. Henry just nodded grimly. "It's thin, but it'll stall you. And if you push too hard, they'll start talking code enforcement, tax reviews, maybe eminent domain." She was baiting me to make a mistake. That night, I pored over every land record I had looking for a crack in her foundation. Just before midnight, I found a topographic map from 1982, signed by a county surveyor marking an irrigation canal that divided my land into 2 plots, the second technically still undeclared. Undeclared land doesn't fall under HOA jurisdiction unless petitioned. And she hadn't. You missed a corner, Celeste. And corners are where empires collapse. Before I could sleep, Ricky messaged again she'd blasted out a newsletter calling my ranch early-stage conversion pending legal formalities. Pending, she said, walking a tightrope, hoping I'd slip. So the next day, I hit up the Agricultural Zoning Board, pulled records on irrigation permits, and found that auxiliary plot wasn't just a ditch. It was a registered water conduit with easement rights going back to my grandfather. The HOA had no clue. Back at the ranch, I climbed my dad's old watchtower and looked out, not seeing fences and grass, but chess squares. Celeste was playing Monopoly. I was playing chess. I moved a knight where she wasn't looking. 3 days later, I put on my worst sports coat, slicked my hair with motor oil, and walked right into her investor preview, the kind of crowd that thinks ranch is just a salad dressing. I went by Mark Walters' strategic land consultant. "I heard the ranch parcels are nearly ripe for flipping," I said to some guy who smelled like lemon soap and money. Celeste spotted me, eyes narrowing, but assumed I was just another shark. That was her first mistake. The auction was silent, just cards and fake bids. I played along, even placed a bid on Lot 5 contingent on immediate possession and HOA override authority. Bluff of the century, but Celeste couldn't call it out, not in front of her investors. She played along, even smiled for the cameras. Afterward, we met behind the tent. "You're insane," she hissed. "And very, very stupid." I let my accent slip. Funny, that's what folks say before they lose. She tried to scare me with threats of legal action and fire safety complaints, but I held up a little voice recorder. "Say that again, would you?" She clammed up, but she'd shown her hand she was afraid. That night I sent Henry the recording. "She's threatening sabotage, arson even." "Good," he said, "keep her talking." Next morning, a notice was taped to my fence pending investigation land misrepresentation. Transactions frozen. Celeste had used my fake bid to trigger a legal freeze weaponizing my own play against me. But her brochure said a buyer could request a site inspection with HOA compliance officers. That was my in. I scheduled my inspection, and Celeste sent her jittery assistant Nolan, who let slip that the HOA's new map hadn't been filed with the county yet. I almost hugged the guy. Out at the irrigation canal, I snapped photos and asked, "Does the HOA plan to include this plot? Plot that's not on the sheet." "Exactly. It's got a water easement predates Evergreen's jurisdiction." Nolan turned pale. The wheels were turning. Back at Henry's, we laid out the evidence photos maps, the false merge on Celeste's own map. "That's our missile silo." Henry grinned, "A legal landmine." We drafted a demand letter, filed a reclassification motion, which would force a public hearing spotlight Celeste would hate. But we needed the original HOA charter and amendment schedule locked in Celeste's office. I called Ricky. "You want me to infiltrate a bunch of wine moms?" "Yeah, legally." He grinned. "I'll even wear a tie." Meanwhile, I bought Nolan coffee, played the clueless investor, and got him to spill that Celeste had updated the charter but hadn't filed it, waiting for approval by practice, not policy. That was squatting with paperwork. 2 days later, Ricky dropped off a USB Nolan had left his laptop open. Gold meeting minutes, financials, draft emails to developers. Once the old guy folds, we pounce. Henry sent it all to the county. We filed the petition with sworn statements and photos. Within a week, Celeste was summoned before the zoning board. That weekend, I woke up to my gate padlocked and a county notice environmental hazard assessment. The leaking fuel drum was an empty rain barrel from 1973. Bureaucratic chokehold. I'll admit it got to me. I paced, lost sleep, even broke down. Once sat in my dad's old chair, staring at the stove, wondering if I was losing. Then I found his old notebook, one line underlined so hard the page nearly ripped. "They only win if you give up your peace before they take your land." I decided I wasn't playing defense anymore. I built my case, and before I could submit, got hit by a wave of emails, newsletters, and even a blog accusing me of fraud. Celeste had gone nuclear PR firms, old photos, twisting my time overseas into something ugly. The town turned cold. Even Ricky got asked if I was prepping for war. Henry said to hold, let her overreach. But I couldn't just wait. That night, I wrote a letter 1 page straight, truth hand-delivered to every mailbox I could reach before sunrise. I didn't ask for help, just told folks to watch her. By noon, it worked. Nolan quit. The board started arguing. Calls flooded the sheriff. The community wasn't on my side, but they weren't on hers either. Then came the kicker, a cease and desist from Brad Colulton himself, Celeste's fixer. I laughed, gave it to Hank the dog for a chew toy, then called Henry. "It's time." We filed a formal complaint with the state attorney general, requested an injunction. Celeste had thrown everything at me, but she didn't know the land fights back. The hearing was in a county building that smelled like burnt coffee. I wore my dad's jacket. Celeste waltzed in late, flanked by Brad and her board binder in hand like she was ready for war. The chairman read the case and called me up. No theatrics, just facts. Deed map photos, auxiliary land. Henry took over laying out every crooked move, every missing file. He played the audio of Celeste talking about stalling me with paperwork. The room went quiet. Brad tried to spin it, but when asked for documents, he admitted they were still compiling. Henry produced the packet Ricky got from Nolan unvoted amendments, financial projections, proof of intent to defraud. The board stared. Celeste snapped. "This is a smear campaign." The chairman just asked, "Did you file the zoning update?" Brad fumbled. "Not yet. That was it. 5-minute recess, then a vote. Unanimous in my favor. HOA claims rescinded recommended legal investigation into Evergreen's abuse of authority. No cheers, no drama, just justice, cool and final." Glenn, the chairman, shook my hand. "You fought hard. Not many do." "I wasn't just fighting for me," I said. "I was fighting for everyone who can't afford to." Celeste froze, refused to meet my eyes as she slunk out her little empire, starting to crumble. By sundown, the news had spread. 3 other homeowners filed their own challenges. The sheriff dropped by just to tip his hat. Word is she's up for an ethics review. I nodded, nothing to say. The breeze felt different, like the land was waiting for me to come home. A week later, the ranch finally felt right again. Ricky came back full-time. We repainted the sign, Randall Ranch family owned since 1937. Thought about adding, no HOA trespassing. Celeste disappeared resigned with a whimper. Her circle scattered. Brad Colulton started ducking state requests. I didn't celebrate. I bought sunflower seeds, planted them along the canal just to remember something good can grow out of a borderline war. But stories like this don't ever end. 3 weeks later, I got a letter. No return address. An invitation to speak at a symposium on HOA accountability. Mr. Randall, your experience could help ensure this never happens again. I snorted. Wasn't looking to be the poster boy for fighting HOAs, but Henry said, "You made her lose in public. That's justice, folks, remember." I said she'll be back. Not her, but someone like her. New name, same poison. Henry just nodded. Then you'll be ready. Or someone else will. The next week, a county planner knocked on my door. I'm here about the Randall Clause. Turns out my case had led to a new ordinance. No more invisible zoning changes within a half-mile of legacy rural land without a county review. For the first time, I grinned. That was real change. Final twist. A drone hovering low over my pasture rental car from Arizona parked by the trees. I snapped a photo of the plate before the driver peeled out. Henry called it Brad's firm trying to spin a comeback story. They wanted a redemption arc. I just laughed and said, if they want a story, I'll give them one. Just not the ending they're expecting. These days, I get letters from folks all over, folks who stood up to bullies and boards who just want some peace. I tell them the same thing every time. The law might not always save you, but the truth has a way of surviving just long enough to matter. And as long as there's dirt under my boots and ink on that deed, nobody's taking what's mine. Not now. Not ever. So tell me, what would you do if you came home to find your land for sale without your permission? Where do you draw the line between neighborly order and outright theft? Comment below. Let's talk about justice community and what it really means to stand your ground.